Okay, everyone, welcome back. We are Stanzo and Bert. This is another episode of Down the Line, baseball podcast. We're talking Yankees. We're talking MLB. We are talking all of baseball. If you can hear that, that is my cat meowing in the other room. He loves me, and he has been a nuisance since we got him. But more importantly is the Yankees are on a 10-game winning streak as we speak. They're currently playing the Braves. They are hot, and I'm going to say it, Nick. I've been hesitant to say it this entire time we've been recording this entire season. The Yankees are back. The Yankees are back. I'm all in. I'm done with the hesitancy. I'm in. Yankees are back. We're up in the wild card, making our way in the division. Yankees are back. Declaration confirmed.
Yeah, no, I mean, they finally figured it out. It took them God knows how long. But at this point, I mean, 10 games in a row. I think they're like 17-3 in their last 20. It really has been. I know Evan Roberts kind of said this on the Fan the other day. Ever since they had that brutal loss on July 4th to the Mets, they come back and win the second game. And it's really been a better brand of baseball ever since then. Granted, you can count at least 5 or 6 brutal bullpen blowups ever since then, but they've lost one series from that, and it was the Fenway series against the Red Sox. So you look at what this team has done, and it hasn't just been 10 games, 2 weeks. It's really been over the course of almost 2 whole months now. They've played winning baseball.
Yeah, and I have to give Cashman credit. I definitely said that there was no way he would ever go back on himself. He's one of those people that's too proud to admit he's wrong. He admitted he was wrong in the form of, lefties don't matter. It's all about just like the hitter that you have in the lineup. He admitted he was wrong by making the Gallo move, by making the Rizzo move. That has worked out amazingly. We were talking about it last night. Just the fact of having a lefty presence in the lineup is huge. And I think, what was it? What series? It was the White Sox series where you were saying, you say
so, right. It was it was game 1 of the Red Sox series last week. So they had Garrett Whitlock in the game, who's the Red Sox best reliever. He threw like 3, or I guess it was 2 2/3 shutout innings yesterday for them to win. He's unbelievable. But they take him out of the game because Joey Gallo comes up, who's a lefty. So they go to the lefty. Gallo works the walk. Now, because of the 3-batter rhythm, they have a lefty in, ends up facing Luke Voit, 2-run single. They pinch hit Stanton, and he hits an RBI single. So just getting those matchups. I know Gallo has far from lit the world on fire since they've gotten him. He's only got like an OBP around 300 right now. Obviously, fans are bitching with the strikeouts because that's what boomer fans like to do. But just him being in the lineup alone, and this goes for Rizzo too, they're lefties that people respect. And now instead of, all right, it's the Yankees, like the Astros didn't carry one lefty pitcher on their ALCS roster in 2019. Like there was no game plan for the Yankees. Like you didn't have to think, okay, how am I going to go like to this guy or this reliever? Like they're not making managers think, not making bullpens think. It was just throw your nasty righties until the cows come home. And that's not the case anymore.
Throw a hard slider. Like Carabas make that joke all the time at Stan. But to be fair, that's true because that is just like how the dead zone with the lefty, right? Like kind of like right around like the thigh level ish, like that dead zone area inside on the lefty. That righty outside slider is a dead zone for them. They're not. It's tough to hit. It's tough to read the spin when the ball is that far away from you. It's like, and that's all any reliever had to do against the Yankees for 2 years now. And like I said, I give Cashman credit for finally admitting that he was wrong. And the second thing that I want to give him credit for, and this is maybe organizationally and Aaron Boone, is putting Giancarlo Stanton in the outfield. I mean, how long have we been saying that? Just try it. Clearly, this guy is going to get hurt, whether he's sitting on the bench or whether he's in the outfield. You might as well get him moving around more. Maybe it gets his mind off his poor, awful plate appearances when he is struggling, and maybe it just gets him a little bit looser throughout the day. And look at this. He hit a home run tonight. He's been hitting really well lately since he's been in the outfield. Took him a few games to adjust, but I think he's really getting the hang of it, and he's we need it. We need Luke Voit at DH, and we need Stanton in the outfield. And thank God they have made these second half adjustments because I feel like they've gone so well so far. I mean, obviously they have, but
Yeah, and I saw a tweet last night. I forget who it was, but I thought it was kind of funny. It was like all these people that are surprised, like Stanton looks good in the outfield. It's like, yeah, he was an above average major league outfielder for like 7 seasons. Like, obviously he's gonna look comfortable. Like, we're not throwing Miguel Andujar out there for the first time, or it's not like not take a jab at the Red Sox, but I will because it's convenient. Like, this isn't JD Martinez where the guy can mash and like you just have to find him in position. Like, he was a good outfielder in Miami. He was a really good right fielder. So for him to be out there and staying in the flow of the game, that was kind of, he had a post game press conference answer last night, essentially saying like it's kind of tough to take yourself in and out of the game mentally, whereas now like he's just in the flow of it the entire time, where you're focusing on defensive positioning and making the plays on fly balls and all that stuff. I really think it does help. So it's something we've been speculating. I know you and I have beat this point, a million times this year, but it's nice to see it coming to fruition a little bit. And I was worried they were going to just half-ass it and not play him back to back, but that doesn't seem like it's the case at all. It seems like he's in a good spot physically, knock on wood. So, it's been awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, just all these adjustments have just generally been huge, and the Stanton one has been my favorite just for the flexibility that's the lineup, and he's one of our highest paid offensive asset, right? I don't think anyone makes more than him on offense.
Yeah, no,
obviously Garrett Cole does, yeah, but he's our number one paid offensive asset. How on earth we can't afford literally to not get production out of him. And now that it's happening with a little bit of consistency, yes, he's always been streaky. And I don't want to say, like Aaron Boone said it too. He's like, maybe this is contributing to it. Maybe it's not. It's not a definitive yes. But I mean, sample size so far looks great. Just being able to escape bad at bats and just be like, okay, now I just got to focus on being a good fielder for a few innings. It gets your confidence up. It's what is it? It's the ebbs and flows, or like what is the seesaw? What's that balance thing?
Equilibrium.
There it is. I couldn't think of the word. It's like the equilibrium where it centers out your confidence when you're hitting bad, and you are the DH. That's all you're going to think about. But like at least right now, Joey Gallo, complete opposite, not hitting well, but at least he is playing good defense, and his confidence centers out. So that's my point.
No, absolutely. And I think the thing with Gallo too, just to defend him, he just struck out again, which is not great. And again, he needs to hit better than this. He needs to get on base more than this. But the one thing that's giving me hope with him is he's still contributing. Like in the win on Monday night, like you see 0 for 2 strikeouts. He had 2-out walks that extended innings. He scored runs on both of them, and he makes a diving catch in the outfield that prevented at least 1 run, if not 2. So like the guy's just a good baseball player. I think honestly in my head, he's kind of like what Aaron Hicks should be, where he's like a low batting average lefty power bat that gets on base a lot with speed. He's a lot faster than Aaron Hicks, but theoretically you would hope Aaron Hicks has speed. So I like the addition of Joey Gallo. He needs to heat it up. And you're right. Stanton is very streaky. I'm sure before the season ends, we're going to see another stretch where he can't buy a hit. But for now, it's working, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah. I saw this argument, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, because I honestly don't have an opinion on it yet. I'm a little wavered on each side. How much of this streak after the postseason, after the deadline, how much of it is the players? How much is it Boone/Cashman?
I want to give Cashman. I want to give them credit because I killed them a lot of the season. I know a lot of the fans did. I think Boone has mostly been pressing the right buttons of late in terms of the bullpen and piecing things together. And then Cashman, like we said, you have to credit him for eating crow and going out and getting 2 lefty impact bats, which we've been begging him to do for 3 years at least. So they both get credit, but at the end of the day, it's on the players. Just like the same way when they were struggling, I feel like we put it mostly on the players, even though we were bitching about Boone and Cashman. You look, it's not just the Rizzo and Gallo acquisitions. It's Luis Gil coming up making an impact. It's Nestor Cortez pitching lights out. It's Jameson Tyone, turnaround in the second half. It's Voit hitting better. It's Stanton hitting better. It's Judge coming alive. It's Gary. Like, it's guys who necessarily weren't living up to expectations, just playing better. Like, that's what it is. So, Yankees just tied it on a Gary single too. But it's mostly the players, but I think you have to credit all 3. I blamed all 3. You have to credit all 3.
Yeah. So I think moving on to the rest of baseball, I think before we dive into what's going on around MLB, we got to recognize a major milestone. Miguel Cabrera, been arguably the best hitter in baseball, just like pure hitter. Over his career, obviously he's at the end of his, but I think the only person you can compare him to in terms of success is Albert Pujols. I mean, they've been 320 plus for most of their career, average wise, around 390, give or take, for on base. Like all these crazy stats, 30 plus homers, 100 plus RBIs. It just felt like a given for Miguel Cabrera his entire life. Obviously a Triple Crown winner, MVP, and he hits his 500th home run. And I don't know, I saw a lot of people trying to be like, oh, is he a Hall of Famer? Like, is this enough to get him in? Like, I actually saw that.
You saw that take?
I saw that take multiple times on Twitter. Like, oh, like what more does he have to do? Like he hadn't won and all these.
That's got to be a take.
I think I was going into the depths of Twitter a little bit.
That's got to be a troll, or that's
maybe I got sold.
He could have snapped his Achilles in half like 6 years ago, and I think he would have been a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and the craziest part of all this is that he's now his 500 home runs, and he's like 45 hits away from 3,000 hits, which I think 3,000 hits is the better accomplishment. What about you?
It's tough, right? Like
I think it's 3,000. And can I explain why? Mm-hmm. Because think about how good Joey Votto has been throughout his entire career. He's been good for a very long time. He just got to 2,000. Do you know what I mean? Like that is crazy. And he's been a notorious batting average guy, which say what you want about it. That means he gets a lot of hits, in around, like Miguel Cabrera has done that, and he's got 500 home runs, but he's got 1,000 more hits than one of the best that we've seen,
And I get it. I think for me though, it's just like, I'm the biggest Derek Jeter fan out there pretty much. And like, he's 6th all time in hits, but it's like, when you're looking at hits, you are mostly looking at compiling, and not to downplay being really good for a really long time. It's like, you look at the 500 home run club, like the guys in there, like Derek Jeter's not in the conversation for like best hitter of our generation. Like, this is what I was going to follow you up with. Like, you mentioned Pujols, like you're talking like it's Miggy, it's Pujols. You could throw A-Rod's name in the ring, like Trout I put in the next generation.
Yeah,
but like those 3 guys, like not only are you talking about like just like the guys you grew up with, like A-Rod, Miggy, and Pujols, like you're putting them in a conversation with like Hank Aaron, like Willie Mays, like best right-handed hitters like of all time. So like I it's not so much just that it's the 500 home runs. Obviously, those guys also were able to hit for average and get a ton of hits as well. But I don't know, man. I think it's the 500 home runs. But just regardless, he wasn't just one of the best players of our generation. He's really one of the best hitters of all time. And I think that it's going to get overlooked a little bit by some people younger than us because the Tigers were horrible for the second half of his career.
Yeah, I think they had like 2 or 3 good years when he first came over. I remember them being successful for a couple of years, but I mean, for the most part, they've been bad under the Miguel Cabrera era. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they went to two World Series? No, just 1 World Series. They went to the 2012 World Series for
with
sure.
Verlander. Yeah.
They beat the Yankees.
Verlander and Scherzer, right? Yeah. Like that. It was that year, wasn't it?
No,
Scherzer left in 2011, right?
2011, the Rangers were in the World Series again. Were they not? Didn't the Rangers lose back-to-back World Series, 2010, 2011?
Yes. 2011 was the David Freese year.
I always mix up in my brain the Tigers and Rangers teams of like the early 2010s because they've both been horrible ever since, but they had nasty teams like when we were in like early in high school.
I was literally doing the same exact thing, and they didn't win. That was the thing. It was always the National League team that won, like the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals in both cases?
The Cardinals won in 2006 and 2011. Yeah. And then the Giants won in 2010, 2012, 2014. I think that's another reason it kind of blends together because it was those teams every time. So a lot of those World Series in my head just kind of like mush up a little bit. Bad brain.
It's not a baseball history podcast. So that's good news. That's good news for me.
It's not a brain podcast. If you came here for smart things to be said, you get off the internet, honestly.
Get off the internet, go outside. I don't know. I don't know what people do outside.
So. Read a fucking book one time. Maybe.
Weirdos.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, dude.
That's some great Gatsby. Fuck that book. Fuck that book. Like you got me distracted with the Great Gatsby. Back to the rest of the MLB. Braves are hot. Yankees are hot. They're playing right now, and we also have something I think that we would have never expected is the Cincinnati Reds have passed the Dodgers in the wild card. I mean, that's something. I mean, the Padres are granted on a very bad streak, 2-8 in their last 10. Reds are hot, 7-3 in their last 10. So that's where that discrepancy is. I mean, that's a 4-game swing right there. I think the Padres probably make a run at some point of not going 2-8, playing that type of baseball the rest of the way. But I mean, that's big. It's late in the season. The team that we thought was the second best team in baseball isn't in a playoff spot right now.
Yeah, and I mean that's why you play 162. I poo-pooed the Reds literally 1 week ago on the show. I literally said that they're not a good team. It's just a good stretch. Well, already they're in a playoff spot over the Padres, who, like you said, people had as the number 2 best team come in baseball coming into the year. They just fired Larry Rothschild, which is
I was going to say, is that like the reverse jinx that the Padres needed? Just be like, all right, get this guy out of here. I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing it wrong.
It's crazy though. Like, think about the conversations this winter when it was like the Padres are trading for everyone. Like, even back to last trade deadline, they traded for Clevenger, who obviously is hurt this year, but they go out and get Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, and Joe Musgrove. They trade for like arguably the 3 top starting pitchers on the market this year. And now it's like, and it's like, yeah, and they almost get Scherzer, and it's like they're still scrambling for pitching at this point. Like, it's because that's what a 162 game season does. Like, it just exposes weaknesses. Guys get hurt. Like, it's absolutely insane.
Well, and in that rotation, they were also expecting to have Dinelson Lamet, and he's been just on and off the IL this entire season, just with like forearm tightness, and he hasn't gotten any surgery, but he just keeps on. He's been similar to DeGrom. He's just obviously not at DeGrom's level, where it's just been like he comes out, he pitches a couple innings, pitches a couple starts, comes out of the bullpen. He's healthy. He's great. He's building back up. Tightness again, soreness again, and they shut him down. So it's been like, I feel like it's been like that all year. How much is that on Larry Rothschild? Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say without actually being in the clubhouse. But Blake Snell hasn't been good this year either. I mean, he's been better of late, but he hasn't been, the ace that we thought he was. Yeah, you didn't trade. You traded for an ace or a one of the best number 2s.
They traded Luis Patino for him, who's a stud, and I mean, it goes to show. I know the Rays don't win every trade. Like, they've lost. They gave up Jake Cronenworth, and they've missed on other trades, but like that Blake Snell trade, people were like, oh, it's a kind of team friendly contract for a starting pitcher, not that old. He just had a great playoffs. He won a Cy Young a couple years ago, and it's like they just know when to sell high on their guys. Like, they traded a guy, he's having a bad year, and they got back a kid in Patino who's a stud. So it's really pretty incredible all the way around.
Yeah, I think I'm done ever. I mean, not that I really have in the past, but I'm done ever even thinking for a second that the Rays make a bad trade. I mean, I can't remember the last time they fell like flat on their face in a trade. The only one I can maybe think of is Tommy Pham, because he was good, and then like he was good for a little bit, and then I think they traded him to the Padres, and he was then a little bit better. But I mean, even then, like, where's Tommy Pham now? Like, he's not the same player that he was 2 or 3 years ago when he was batting like 320. So that's like the one I can think of, like, off the top of my head that maybe they lost. But like, other than that, it seems like they win every other trade. The Chris Archer one, this one, like it's ridiculous.
No, absolutely. It's Belichickian, like the same way you don't see guys leave the Patriots and have their best years after that. You don't really see guys leave the Rays and have the best years after that. So listen, I think it's shitty the fact that a baseball team needs to operate with that kind of payroll in front of 500 fans or whatever they play in front of every day, but you can't knock them for the way that it works because it's fucking working.
It's working. Yeah, it's Moneyball on steroids, literally. How crazy is it that Fernando Tatis is playing right field or the outfield? I mean, I know he was a bad shortstop defensively, but I didn't think they could throw him in the outfield and he'd be, decent. He's playing relative for just starting the position. He's playing a good right field.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not worried about like what he does out there this year. The fact that we're even saying, oh, he's playing a pretty solid right field where he's never played, like coming off the aisle and playing there. Like the guy's a freak athlete. He has a rocket arm. He's going to be fine in the outfield, especially once you give him some time. Do you know, like, did they move him out there? Or was it more because of his injuries, or were they just like, he's really not an infielder. He's really not a shortstop. Let's rip this Band-Aid off now. Like, I hadn't really seen why.
Well, what was crazy to me was they were saying center field. They were like, oh, it's center field, but they have why can I think of this guy's name? The Trent Grisham. I couldn't think of his name. He's on my fantasy team too. They have Trent Grisham, who's a really good center fielder. So I'm like, that's a little odd. Like maybe they plan, like maybe they know Grisham's better in right, lefty, whatever it is. So they wound up moving him to right field. I think they just, they don't want to throw him back into it. But I think the idea of it is that he just isn't a good shortstop, and that Cronenworth is playing a very good shortstop. So it's tough for him to, like, why are we messing with a good defense when this guy we can just put him out there and things will be just the same, if not better. So I think he played some outfield in the past. I think that's where the center field thing came from. Originally, because they're like, oh, that's where he's played in the past, so we'll put him there. But they threw him in right because he's, like we said, a freak athlete. He'll figure it out, got a cannon arm, and he's fast. So I think it's more the fact that they like Cronenworth at shortstop, and then they traded for Adam Frazier at the deadline. So they need somewhere they needed somewhere to put him. So.
And I mean, not to mention Tatis's offensive numbers play anywhere. Like he easily puts up corner outfield offensive production. So you can really stick him wherever the fuck you want.
Yeah, exactly. How do you think Manny Machado feels about that? He was supposed to be the shortstop of the future. He's like, I want to play shortstop. Like that was like his thing in free agency. He's like, no, I want to be the shortstop. I want to be the shortstop. Mm-hmm. The Padres let him play shortstop for a little bit when he first started with them. And then Tatis came up, they moved him over to third. And now Tatis leaves shortstop and they put Jake Cronenworth at shortstop, and Manny Machado still stuck playing third base.
Machado also, though, like the way they use him, like they'll stick him in like short right field. Like he almost he's basically like a rover for them, to be honest with you. Like that guy is so damn good defensively. Like I think it's kind of crazy. I don't think about Manny Machado enough. Like now that he's out of the Yankees division, playing out west and on the same team as Tatis, he doesn't get, I honestly don't think he gets enough shine for how fucking awesome and young he still is. But yeah, no, you're right. It is kind of funny that it's like this guy was like shortstop. Now they've gone through two shortstops since he's been there. But no, like he's just like, this is gonna sound so cliche. He's just like a baseball player. Like you just throw him out there and it's like you like find the ball somewhere.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what a lot of and I feel like we're talking about the Padres right now a lot, and then we were supposed to talk about how bad they are, but we're really giving them their moment.
We're really complimenting them a lot for how big of this collapse has been. They're like 12 games
out. They are not close to winning a division, and they just lost their wild card spot, and we're like, these guys got it. They got the it factor.
Fuck it. I don't care. I don't really care that Blake Snell sucks now. He doesn't suck that bad.
Yeah, I mean he's not good, but I mean that's on them. But regardless, the Padres I feel like are filled with like the baseball player type. Cronenworth's a baseball player. You're throwing him all over the infield. Adam Frazier just kind of sounds like the guy that just bats without batting gloves. It's like spits on his hand, rubs some dirt on it, just fucking ropes a hard single to left field. Yeah, they just seem like a bunch of guys that just like are like grit. Even though, I mean, Tatis isn't really like that. He's more swag, but I don't know. I feel like they just got like a nice baseball player vibe to them, the whole team. The Padres.
They confirmed have a lot of baseball players.
Yeah, fuck off. What else we got? I think we got you want to cover the NL? Yeah, the NL East a little bit. Braves 9-1 in their last 10. Mets 2-8. Is it over? Is it over for the Mets?
Like, I think it is, but like it's so weird, right? Because it's like I get that the Braves.
If you haven't noticed, I always try to make you make like exclamatory. I lead you into the question of being and like, I never is the Mets season over? You just fall right.
All right, fine. It's over.
There's 60 games, 50 games.
I do the Evan Roberts where I give you an explanation. Yes, I do think it's over. It's crazy how it happened because. I get you play who's on your schedule, but it's like the Braves had a very weak 9-game stretch and they made the most of it. The Mets play literally the two best teams in baseball, and the Giants and the Dodgers, and they only squeak out. They've won 2 games so far in this 13-game stretch. So they're 2-8, I think so far, or maybe they've only whatever it is. They've been playing them horrible, but I mean, like it just happened so quick. Like it's not like they're a game out, 2 games out, 3 games out. They're buried already. So like. The thing is, I don't think
Braves, they're 2 games under 500. Yeah,
I don't think the Braves keep this up. At the same time, I think they found enough of their stride where like they can play at least 500 baseball or 600 baseball the rest of the way. You look at the Mets, like at no point this year have they had a good stretch. Like now Lindor's back, Baez is back. Like that's all well and good, but like their offense has not hit all year. There's no DeGrom. Taijuan Walker's been a nice story, but he has not had nearly as good a second half as he did the first half of the season. It's like, I don't see the run. I don't see the Mets going on a run the way the Yankees just did. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see the Mets make it interesting down the stretch. I think they'll inch a little bit closer. But what do you think? Because I just don't know if there's like enough firepower for them to do it.
What always made me comfortable about the Mets lead, and this is how, we were preaching this the whole first half of the season, and even going into this little slump that they have, we're like, they have enough talent that they'll probably figure it out. And even if they don't figure it out to their peak, their division is bad enough and is playing bad enough this entire season that it doesn't really matter. All they got to do is play right around 500, a little better. But I mean, the Phillies have slumped of late. They're 4-6 in their last 10, but they went on a nice run. So clearly they're capable of doing it. You see it. You see the talent on the Phillies roster. I mean, Harper, Hoskins, even someone like McCutchen, and and obviously the Wheeler and Nola. They had the top tier talent to at least go be successful and go on the run that they already did. And now the Braves, we thought that there was a team that wasn't going to wake up. They lost their best player. Their other best player, Freddie Freeman, wasn't playing up to par. They lost Ozuna because he's a scumbag. And then
Soroka was supposed to come back. He doesn't come back. So you look at it. You're talking about, probably 3 of your 5 best players in Acuna, Soroka, and Ozuna are done for the year. So I thought they were dead, because we said this last week. I loved the Braves coming into the season. Loved the Braves. A lot of it was based off of their rotation, though. And then obviously you lose around the Acuna Jr. type guy. It's tough to come back from. I don't care how good your team is, but props to them. They've plugged the holes. They've had guys step up. And like I said, they didn't exactly light the world on fire and beat a bunch of first place teams, but you players on your schedule, 9 straight.
Yeah. So and that's what I'm saying. Like the Mets, like I would have thought the division would have been weaker because of how it had been for the first 110, give or take, games, or 100, maybe 100 now if the Braves went on the streak. But like, I really thought the Mets still had a chance because the division was so bad and they had the pieces together to maybe figure it out. Like, I think they still, at the end of the day, have a more talented team, after injuries and said and done. I still think they're one of the more talented teams in the NL, but they just can't seem to, the talent that's there can't play well. And they're playing way below what they're capable of. And now that the rest of the division has finally figured it out, the Mets had their chance to pull away, and now it's too late. So I kind of think they're buried too, because I think unless they do a 360 tonight, tomorrow night, the next night, before September, it's over. It's over.
And we talked about this kind of a couple weeks ago, where it's like guys who haven't been around that long, like it's kind of a really tough task to evaluate what they actually are when you look at like 2019 and like potentially 2018 as well, juice balls, 2020 shortened season. So here it is, 2021. It's like a quote unquote normal season, right? You take out the sticky stuff, the juice balls, the 162 games, whatever. So it's like, what is Michael Conforto? Like, is he like, this was a guy we're talking about getting $150 million, $200, like justifying not signing George Springer because you want to keep him around. Like, is this guy even getting $100 million? Like Jeff McNeil, this was a guy that looked like he was a future batting champion. He's been terrible this year. Like Dom Smith, great 60-game season. He hasn't been good this year. Same thing with like Clint Frazier with the Yankees, where you expect him to step up and a full season just hasn't done it. So it's like, I think that's the concern for me for the Mets lineup. Obviously, number one is just DeGrom being the best pitcher on the planet, and you don't think you're going to get him back. But it's like this lineup, like I know Lindor's the buzzword, but like it's not even Lindor. It's all these other guys who you were leaning on, and they've just been terrible, legitimately terrible.
The problem with the construction of the Mets, and obviously it's much easier to say this in hindsight because we were all in on the Mets, and
I thought they were going to win like 95 games.
But these guys like Conforto, McNeil, JD Davis, like those guys in this, they're not stars, but they're not bad. So you find themselves in like this kind of like average range, average ball player, kind of falling themselves a little below, a little above. And I think that a lot of Mets fans and Yankee fans and baseball fans, MLB fans, and the Mets front office obviously expected them to be where they are, average. and then play above it because they were supposed to be getting better. You know, as the team gets better, as the confidence gets higher, you start to play better. But they have gone the total opposite direction, all of them. It was like the Yankees in the beginning of the season, but it's been the whole season for them. And these guys, but at least we knew those Yankee players could be elite. We had seen it before. For the most part, like you said, we haven't seen normalcy, like I'm trying to think of normal elite play by a lot of these Mets players. They have maybe the thought and the potential to be that, but they haven't. They just have gone the complete other way, all of them, all the way around.
Right, and with the Yankees, it's like they had just had more known commodities. Like for the Mets, it's really Lindor will be a very good player again at some point. He started to show signs before he got hurt. Like I'm not worried about Francisco Lindor. That guy's been a stud in the league for a decade. Like Pete Alonso really proven this year he's a stud. But like outside of that, like Yankees just have more known guys. Like Judge and Stanton, the only worry was health. Like Luke Voit has been absolutely raking for 3 years. You know, DJ LeMahieu has down year, but you still knew he's at least like going to be an average player. Like Gary, you saw it in him. Like a lot more of these guys with the Yankees, even if they've had down years, they've given you something. Even Glaber has shown something. It's like McNeil, Conforto, all these guys. It's like they've given them like nothing.
Do you think that they hung on to a lot of these guys because they're horrified, absolutely horrified of having again what happened with Justin Turner, with Daniel Murphy, like where they let these guys go before they got good. So they didn't want to let these guys go after they got good. So because they didn't want to see them go to another team and see another batting champion in Daniel Murphy, or they want to see Justin Turner be one of the best third basemen in baseball for the next 6 years. Do you think that's in the back of their mind, or it's a new regime? They thought they wiped that clean.
I think it's in the back of every GM's mind to a degree, right? I mean, we've accused Cashman of prospect hugging how many times, but like, yeah, that I normally would say I wouldn't read too much into that, but like it is like Sandy Alderson running the show. Like
that's what I mean. Yeah,
same guy who let those guys go, you know, half a decade ago. So it's
Wheeler walked too. Yeah,
it's not crazy to think that, but at the same time, I think it's also just like you looked at Michael Conforto, like that's a guy I'll build my franchise, like, or with Alonso. Like you look at Jeff McNeil, it's like that's a guy that's kind of a unicorn in this league where a lot of guys don't put the bat on the ball and play all over the way he does. Like you know, you look at Dom Smith and it's like he plays first base, outfield, like him big year. Like I think it's the same way the Yankees looked at Clint Frazier to produce this year, and he fell flat on his face. But you know what? That we weren't counting on him to be our number 3 hitter. We weren't counting on him to carry the offensive load. So I think the Mets just had these young guys who had given them plenty of reasons the past couple of years to be confident in them. And why? So were you and I. We were confident in them too, and they've just fallen flat on their face.
Yeah, that's the perfect example. They just had a lineup full of Clint Fraziers, you know, just guys who you're like, okay, now's the time where they go, and they went the other way. You know, They went I mean, for different reasons, but, you know, just statistically speaking, you know, like they went the other way that you didn't expect them to go.
Conforto's the craziest one for me.
I agree.
He came up in 2015. He's so like, you look like season to season, like he's very streaky like that. It's a guy who legitimately like has the talent of a perennial all-star. Like there's like, it was seriously a debate like around a year ago. It's like, do you think the Yankees might throw $200 at him, or $200 million
like,
at him?
What?
he's like
sold.
Applebee's gift card. But like, and like, they're like, do you think maybe they'll like play him next to Judge or whatever? Like now it's like, I don't know if he takes the 1-year prove it deal, or if Boris works his magic and tries to get him like a 5-year deal somewhere for, I don't know, but man, he is costing himself a lot of money this year.
Dude, all he had to do this year was bat like 260.
He needs to have an average year, or he could have had like a slightly down year. Like you could have played that off. He's
been atrocious for over 100 games, or I guess
it's not small sample size. It's not injury that we know of. Like he's just been terrible.
Bad baseball player, and bad baseball players going into contract years is the worst thing. The worst thing. That's literally the worst thing. He dug himself the worst hole I can possibly think of for a free agent potential all-star. He's going to get paid like $11 million a year, something stupid low because of the season. I really think he dug himself a bad hole. Like he's not going to get anywhere near what he is actually worth. Like I really think he's going to be like that 11 to 14 range.
I think he's got to take a 1-year prove it deal. I don't know the list of free agent outfielders this year. I mean, unless the Mets go out and throw money like a Starling Marte or something like that, I think that they've kind of made this bed where they passed on Springer for Conforto, which was a move I praised at the time. And who knows how the George Springer contract turns out. I mean, the guy missed a ton of time this year, as good as he's been since he came back. But I feel like it's almost like, look, like at this point, let's just see what we got. You run it back. Like we'll take you take the qualifying offer. It can't possibly be worse. So we'll see. That's my guess how it goes on. I don't know if that's something Scott Boras signs off on. I guess it really depends what the difference is between what they were looking for coming into the year, what the offers are actually gonna look like.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd be lucky to get a qualifying offer. But I mean, also, I thought the same thing with Stroman, and he proved differently. So,
and he's been great, and he made himself a lot of money. Whereas if he would have taken a contract, last winter compared to what he's about to get this year. So
yeah, like I don't think Stroman's. I mean, now after seeing this year, maybe I think differently. But before that, I didn't think he was worth 18.5. But I mean,
no, I think he's gonna be. I legitimately like. It wouldn't surprise me if Marcus Stroman went out and got like 5 for 100 this winter. I think he's starting pitchers like him don't hit the market all that often. I think he's going to get paid close to ace money, like a step below it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we got everything, right?
Yeah,
that's literally, if you're listening to this, don't look up anything else. That's everything that happened in the MLB this week. Everything.
Yeah, nothing else happened.
Not a single thing you missed.
Pirates probably lost. The Orioles have lost 8, at least at time of taking. They've lost 18 fucking straight games. That's incredible.
Wait, how much are they back right now? I love looking at this part of the season because it's humorous how many games behind they are. Orioles are 38 games out of first.
Oh, I was gonna guess 37. I must have looked at the standings yesterday or something.
Wait, do you want to guess how many games the Pirates are out of first place in the Central?
All right, so the Pirates are worse than the Orioles, or are they? The Pirates don't have a worse record than the Orioles. I'm going to say the Orioles have a worse record.
That's correct.
Okay, so
let me guess how many games out they are.
But the Brewers don't have a better record than the Rays, so they're going to be less. I'm going to say the Pirates are 33 games out.
Ooh, so close. 31.
Okay.
But that said, they are not the most out of it team in baseball. The Orioles are not the worst out of it team.
It's got to be the Diamondbacks because the Giants are the best team in baseball. What are the Diamondbacks? They're like 40, 44 games out or something?
You overshot it a little bit, 39.
Oh, okay, all right.
39 games out of
fucking incredible.
No way they rip off 39 straight, right? No way.
I saw it, yeah. Don't let him get hot. I saw today Caleb Smith got suspended 10 games because he had some substance on his glove, and someone quote tweeted it. I think it was Meek Phil was like so it's literally just a paid 10-day vacation from a team 40 games out of first place. Like I don't think he gives a fuck right now.
I mean, they're 6-4 in their last 10. I mean, I don't know. If I'm Caleb Smith, I want to be in that locker room. That's electric.
I mean, they'll probably catch the Padres at this rate.
Yeah, honestly, maybe they're 13 games out. So you just got to make up 26 games. Just got to make up 26. That's the next goal.
26 with like 35 to go or 40 to go. It's not crazier things have happened.
Just go 26-14. Stop being weird about it.
Yeah, just relax.
You're being weird about it.
Being a little fucking weird about it.
All right. That's everything in baseball this week. We'll be back next week. Nothing else, right, Nick? You're good?
Literally everything.
That's literally everything. All right.
White Sox fans bitch about injuries more than any other fan base. It's hilarious. It was so funny. We were teaming up with there's Yankee fans, Red Sox fans, Mets fans, like Astros fans, even just collectively dunking on White Sox Twitter for bitching about all the injuries. Like we get it. Eloy Jimenez died and came back to life. Like just accept that your team is fraudulent and plays in a terrible division. Like it's not that hard.
Got that off your chest? You feel a little better?
Yeah, the White Sox stink.
All right. They are. Wow, the Yankees actually have a better record.
Yeah, I know because they fucking suck.
Wow.
5-0.
That does feel good to say.
5-0 against the White Sox in games not started by Andrew Heaney in a fraudulent cornfield.
Yeah, and I mean that's facts. That's the literal fact.
I don't shoot the messenger.
All right, we will catch you guys next week.
All right, later, Scares.